Hello, hello, hello. I am live and in action as the Lichtman Live post show. Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Alex Blanco. Kyle Fishman in the house. Rich. Terry Green. You're the man. Ian Matheru. The real Ray Heel. Michelle Gonzalez says, "Hi, Sam. Professor looks so cute in his wig today." Well, Michelle, we have proven on Lichtman Live, I think twice already, that he does not wear a wig. So joke's on you. Zolt Kovacs, Matthew Green, Will Strumiker, William Dang, Captain M90s, Atreyu, Maria. Maria says, Trump. William Dang says, great live stream tonight. Thank you for all of you tuning in from the Lichtman Live. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you coming into the Lichtman Live post show. Greetings from Michigan, says Heather Crass. Hello. Joe Casara says, I feel like there's a lot of love and worth in the Lichtman family. That's definitely true. And also brains. Thank you for that. First time catching the after show, says Christian L. Thank you, Christian. Let's give Christian a round of applause for catching the live show. Will Strumeyer says, the wig comments are ad hominem. Well, of course they are. And dude, they're really prolific, man. Everybody thinks my dad's wearing a wig. He's not, guys. He's really not. I can confirm 100% my dad is not wearing a wig. Will Trump's poll workers steal the election? I don't know, but they will certainly do their darndest to muddy the waters and put their hand and their fingerprints all over it. Matthew Toruk Smith says, I'm so worried about the election being stolen and the election deniers getting away with it this time. I wouldn't worry about it too much, as my dad said on the stream. The good news is that Biden is president now and Trump is not. So Trump doesn't have a ton of power to steal the election this time around. Alex Kawa says, just filled out my absentee ballot in Connecticut today, voted blue down the ballot, and yes on a question to allow for no excuse absentee voting. Voting is awesome. Voting is tight. Alan should be a political advisor. He's the people's political advisor. That's why he's on YouTube. Is the hair genetics? Yes, his father, my grandfather, also had a very nice head of hair. Do I think Democrats need enthusiasm to win? Not necessarily, but no, not necessarily. I think there needs to be quite a bit of Trump hate, though, out there, or Trump distaste for Democrats to win. Thank you, Joe, for the kind words, Joe Casara. Hello, Suzanne from Asbury Park. Is that Asbury Park, New Jersey? Maria says, I need to rest. Do I look sleepy? I'm trying to wake up earlier, but I feel okay. I don't feel too sleepy. But Sam, I'm only one person. Does my vote matter? Well, if every one person thought that and then didn't vote, then nobody would vote, right? So yes, your votes matter. Do I like Shohei Ohtani? I like Shohei Ohtani a lot. He's the man. I have a LA Dodgers hat with his Japanese kanji stitched into the side. Cynthia says, we just need to get off our butts and vote to win. I agree with that. Is Alan Lichtman about to be the Usain Bolt of the Senior Olympics? Maybe so. He's not a sprinter, but in some sense of the imagination, maybe so. Well, I watched The Apprentice movie. Actually, my friend just texted me and said if I wanted to watch it, so probably yes. Does your dad know a former Reagan Republican and author, Bruce Bartlett? I have no idea. Will Trump likely succeed in stealing the election? I don't believe so. Anita says, Sam has great hair too. There you go. Look at my hair. How come no one accuses me of wearing a wig? Because I'm young. If Kamala wins, can you wear a blue mohawk? Would look cool on you. That's not the worst idea I ever heard. I'll think about it. How about that? H fan says, even after the prediction, I've still gotten anxious from stuff I see on social media and news in general about economic stuff and such. So do I reduce how much I'm relying on social media for this? Absolutely. Absolutely. Will Struchemeyer says, no evidence that Americans broadly view Ukraine as a military success. Support for aid among Americans is lower than in February. He's definitely giving that to Biden based off of his opinion. I disagree. I think he's giving it to Biden based off of historical precedent of past and future wars. Do you pay attention to the Vegas betting odds on the election? I do not personally know. I don't really care. Cole says, why do many people who call themselves Christians support Trump despite everything Trump stands for, goes against Christianity? They even have the gall to tell us is what Christianity is all about. Christians like Trump because he pushes their agenda forward, and that's what they care about most. That's the simple answer. He will push their agenda forward. They like that. They support him. What's my opinion on the song? It's Every Day, bro. That song came out like what? 2016? That's a throwback. It's trash. I don't know. That's such a strange question. Denori says there is more misinformation on social media than actual facts at this point. I think that's probably true. Isn't it unbelievable that 40% of our country is susceptible to either corruption or being conned into a cult? That many people? Yeah, it's discouraging for sure. Thomas Rye says, hi, Sam. I'm scared that Harris will lose Michigan due to its Arab population's anger over the Biden administration's handling of Gaza. What do you think? I don't know. Okay, so what are you proposing? That they're not... Okay, they either don't show up or they vote for Trump. Those are the two options if they don't vote for Harris, or they vote for a third party. They're not going to vote for Trump, so I think that option's gone. They vote for a third party, maybe they don't show up. So that means that she's going to lose out on maybe a couple thousand votes here or there. I don't think there's enough of that movement to swing the election. That's just my take. Terry Green says, Sam, early voting in Connecticut starts on October 21st. I'm going to bank my vote early. Are you voting early or on election day? I am voting early. What's up with Every Day, bro? How does It's Every Day, bro, reflect the rise of influencer culture and its impact on traditional media despite its seemingly simplistic lyrical structure? That's an excellent question and an excellent cultural philosophical question. How does it reflect influencer culture? I think it's sheer popularity reflects influencer culture because it's a dog shit song, right? But if you have the right influencer or the right influencers involved, it can go mega viral. So it doesn't matter if you're producing quality content that people even like, you can go viral in this influencer media culture. That's my take on that. Have you heard an increase in MAGA people blaming hurricane in the South on weather manipulation instead of climate change? Well, I mean, didn't Marjorie Taylor Greene tweet that out? The thing about these conspiracy theorists is, they take a grain of truth. Like, there are instances, I think, where somebody can, in a very controlled setting, make it rain, right? But they take these like grains of truth and that little grain of rice gets like soaked in water. These conspiracy theorists soak it in water and it starts to balloon into a giant conspiracy theory that is totally unbelievable. Sad to see. Isn't it wiser to vote early in case there's some kind of issue with your voter registration? I believe most places check your voter's registration in person day of. So if there was a problem, you probably couldn't vote day of. But maybe that's a good point, actually, because maybe you can fix it before then. But I'm not sure. H-Fan says the Arab population in Michigan was already starting to lean right in 2022. They formed an alliance with conservative Christians over LGBT issues. A lot of them are socially conservative. Okay, that's a good point too. I think my dad answers that question of like, but if they were to, on the other side of things, turn their backs on Israel, they might lose a large Jewish vote. You know what I mean? So all these things kind of balance themselves out in the end of the day. Do you think mail-in or in-person is more safe from being ethically counted? I'm really not sure, to be honest with that. Do I watch the Lincoln Project ads? Sometimes they're a little cringy. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're a little cringy. Have I voted early? I have requested my ballot, but I have not voted yet or casted that ballot yet. Tell us about losing to your dad when he was 60. Don't leave us hanging. I don't know why, but my dad is really good at racket sports. So he clings on to this last victory he had of me when he was 60 in racquetball. He's just really good at racket sports. I don't know what to say. What's my favorite news source? I get most of my news probably from the Washington Post because I have a subscription. So I use their digital app to get most of my news. Cynthia Gutierrez says the benefit of voting early is that resources aren't spent on encouraging you to go out and vote. They're spent on those who truly haven't decided if/who they're going to vote for. Okay. H. Van says, that's the thing. There are more Jews than Arab voters. Right. Vincent Valentine says, this will be my first time ever voting. Wow. Thank you, Heather Grass, for the $10, the $9.99 donation. I appreciate that. Randall Turner says, would it be a good idea to bring back the fairness doctrine? Randall, I'm going to be honest with you, my friend. I don't know what the fairness doctrine is. But here's the thing. On the Lichtman Live post show, we've got time. We've got energy. I can look things up. Okay? It's not like Lichtman Live. Right? Let's see. All right. What is the fairness doctrine? The Fairness Doctrine of the United States Federal Communication Commission, FCC, introduced in 1949, is a policy that required the holders of broadcast licenses both to present controversial issues of public information and to do so in a manner that fairly reflected differing viewpoints. So what's the question? Would it be a good point? Did they repeal this? Oh, yeah. In 1987, the FCC abolished the Fairness Doctrine, promoting some to urge its reintroduction through either commission policy or congressional legislation. The FCC removed the rule that implemented the policy from the Federal Register in August 2011. Why did they remove it? In 1985, under FCC Chairman Mark S. Fowler, a communications attorney who had served on Ronald Reagan's presidential staff, blah, 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 the FCC released its report on the Fairness Doctrine obligation, stating that the doctrine hurt the public interest and violated free speech rights guaranteed by the First Amendment. The commission could not, however, come to a determination as to whether the doctrine had been enacted by Congress through its 1959 amendment to section blah, 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 blah. In response to the 1986 Telecommunications Research and Action Center versus the FCC decision, the 99th Congress directed the FCC to examine alternatives to the Fairness Doctrine and to submit a report to Congress. In 1987, in Meredith Corporation versus FCC, the case was returned to the FCC with a directive to consider whether the doctrine had been self-generated to its general congressional authorization or specific. Oh God, this is in the weeds a little bit. On August 4th, 1987, under Chairman Dennis R. Patrick, the FCC abolished the doctrine by a 4-0 vote in the Syracuse Peace Council decision, which was upheld by a panel. They made in their decision that they made that determined without reaching the constitutional issue. We don't actually know if it violated free speech or not. The FCC suggested in Syracuse Peace Council that because of many media voices in the marketplace, the doctrine be deemed unconstitutional, stating that the intrusion by government into the content of programming occasioned by the enforcement of the fairness doctrine restricts the journalistic freedom of broadcasters and actually inhibits the presentation of controversial issues of public importance to the detriment of the public and the degradation of the editorial prerogative of broadcast journalists. I mean, this in and of itself sounds really good to me, right? But it's sort of like probably repealing this led to the mess that our current media landscape is. It's really hard for me to navigate these sort of things because, again, this line in and of itself sounds good and I agree with, but I also look at our current media landscape and I'm like, there are some issues that need to be solved, and maybe something like this could have solved it, you know? If Trump loses the election, how likely do you think he will end up in prison? I think I've said this for a while. I don't think Trump is going to end up in prison no matter what. I think he will have to face a lot of his court cases, and a lot of them he will be found guilty in, but I think he will wiggle his way out of prison. Heather Grass says, I never was interested in politics until I came across your dad. Never miss a live show now on. That's incredible. Wow. That's awesome. Don't forget to like Lichtman Live Post Show and subscribe. Thank you, Kathy Lovins. I appreciate you reminding people to do that. Why are Dems always so pessimistic? They always fall for the media nonsense about Dems are doomed. Harris is going to win the race. That is a good point. Dems do seem very pessimistic. But on the other hand, the GOP seems ridiculously optimistic. I'm not sure why that is exactly. I'm thinking why that could be. I don't know. That's an interesting point. I've never thought about it like that. Your dad said inflation and such can affect social unrest and third party. He only meant that though with regards to elections where he hasn't made a prediction yet, right? Not this election. Correct. Does history show the keys predicting a good leader versus bad? I don't know. I don't think so, but you'd have to ask my dad that question. Me X-Men, so I just wanted to say I really enjoy listening to you and your dad's Alan's podcast. Thank you so much. Have I ever voted for a Republican? I'm not going to answer that question. Sam, did skipping Tuesday's post show rejuvenate you? Yes. I don't know. You know, the thing is, I've sort of been sucked into this political landscape. I didn't really choose it. I've never really liked politics. And sometimes I feel very burnt out from talking about politics, especially when I feel like last week I felt like especially with the whole hurricane misinformation stuff, there was just so many bad actors in our political discourse. And I just didn't feel like talking about it or being a part of it. So I took a break, but I feel better today. You know, my dad said too, he doesn't like talking about politics all the time either, especially during these times of bad faith arguments, etc. But like, he chose that life. I didn't. And I did choose obviously to start the Lichtman Live show, and I'm glad for that. But it's also sucked me into politics, into a position that I'm not sure I like. I'm still figuring that out. So, but Tuesday definitely helped me pull myself out of that hole. Denori says, I feel you, bruv. I'm getting burnt out. I'm excited for this election to be over. Me too. Sam, are you doing the post show on election night, or are you and your dad going to be broadcasting late? I'm not 100% sure. We haven't planned that out yet, but I would assume we're going to be broadcasting late. Cynthia Gutierrez says, I didn't choose the politics life. The politics life chose me. Yeah, that's fairly accurate to how I feel right now. Why don't you do a music show? Because I tried to do music and on YouTube for a while, and most of it got claimed, even though I believe I was technically operating under fair use. And I just couldn't make any money doing it that way, so I had to abandon it. And also, I don't know. My issue too is I don't want to put myself into a box or corner myself. So I do like talking about politics sometimes. I think what I'm doing now is kind of what I like. I like talking about politics sometimes. I like coming on here and doing lives, GeoGuessr stuff, or just video game stuff. I'm also passionate about music, film, stuff like that. So yeah. Dems see complicated. This is from Zandith. Dems see complicated problems that need complicated solutions. Republicans don't understand nuance and complexity, so they have certainty. I like that take. That's not a bad take. Do you feel we can return to something that resembles normalcy, i.e. politics being boring, if Harris wins and Trump's political career is over? I think so. I think we will get to some semblance of normalcy if Kamala wins. I have not seen the new Joker movie. If term limits were abolished, does Obama win a third term against Trump? Absolutely. No, absolutely. Obama wins. Thank you, Anita, for the kind words. Yes, H-Man, the Keys Wiki is still misleading. There are people trying to work on it, but it's tough, man, to deal with Wikipedia. What kind of music do I like? I would say my main three are hip-hop, indie rock, and house music. Sammy licks keys to predicting fantasy football. Well, I'm in 2 leagues, and I am... I think what week are we on? Have we had 8 games yet or 9 games? I think I'm like 1 in 7 or something in fantasy football, so I wouldn't take my advice for it. Gemini 123 says, you're the legacy of the Keys. Embrace it or reject it. One day it's either you or the Keys die with your father. Hard truth. Enjoy this strong relationship with your father so many of us don't have. You're right, Gemini. There's no doubt. I just have to decide which one of those 2 things I want to do. Do I think Trump will be the 2028 GOP nominee? No. Do you ever get into debates with MAGA people? How often do you go about getting through them, if at all? Not very commonly. I don't run across many MAGA people, or at least, get into a political discussion with MAGA people. Just Savage says, I'm an immigrant, so I have to be political all the time. Hopefully no more Trump. Yeah, I hear that. But you don't talk about politics publicly all the time. I think there's a difference between putting yourself out there, talking about politics all the time, and being an individual who is engaged in politics. I think those 2 things are different. Randall says, I live in a Democratic county in Appalachia, and Trump has won my county both times. I have a neighbor with a Trump sign and a Democratic state representative sign in their yard. Yeah, that's strange. That's why Trump is so powerful in a lot of ways. I think I talked about this either my last political live stream or the one before that. He won a lot of Obama voters, Trump did. I think it was 14 million? I forgot exactly what the number was, but something around that range. Republicans need to grow a spine and confront Trump on his lies. I agree. I think they've buried themselves so deep they can't even see the sunlight at the top. anymore. And I think it's going to come back to bite them. I think it's already biting them. I think he's going to lose. You know, I think the entire Republican Party going behind Trump, no matter what, has been a giant mistake. He's only lost since it has been as bad as it has been, and they've, since 2016 on, essentially 2020, 2024. I think he's going to lose in 2024. I think he's going to lose in 2020. They reap what they sow. They stood behind a man no matter what, and because of that, they're going to lose, I believe, firmly. Eat Honey, Be Happy says, the sad part of Trump's influence on the right wing is that once he's out of the picture, they won't start caring about truth. Trump was possible because there was a demand to hear lies. Very interesting point, I think. Christina, I know who Arcade Fire is. If you played one of their songs, I'd probably know, but I can't name a song off the top of my head. I've never really gotten into their music. We lost half of America because of Trump. What do you mean by lost? Did Trump say today they're gonna pick the white guy over the black woman? Did he say that? I have no idea. I have no idea. Let's check. Trump. Oops. They're going to pick the white guy. Trump. No. I don't see anything about this. That's funny. I wonder why that came up first. I don't see anything on that. When Civ 7 comes out, will you stream it? I think so. I'd like to. Anita says, lots of people don't stand up to him because they're afraid. MAGA tries to threaten / intimidate people who disagree. Honestly, there are many Republicans left who even want to stand up to Trump. Well, then they're cowards. Then they're cowards. Or they're just power hungry, which I don't respect either. Are you allowed to play music on YouTube? No. Not copyrighted music. The YouTube music copyright, at least I haven't done it in maybe over a year now, but the way they do it is they allow you to, so I used to like react and critique a lot of like music videos and stuff, right? So the way, at least they did it a year or so ago, was if you're doing that, you can go in, they'll tag your video. It's all automated now, right? So all of these big music conglomerates, all these big music companies have their like integrated algorithms where they can detect your music instantly, right? Or detect their music instantly. So they'll put like a copyright claim on it, and then you can dispute it, and you can say like, hey, this is fair use. I'm critiquing this music video. It falls under this law, blah, 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 blah. But then they make the decision, they give the decision to the record company. So then the record company can make a decision whether or not they want to give you the rights to your own video, free write video, right? So it makes no sense. It's like no court works like that. It's not like they go to the prosecution and say, all right, prosecution, you decide, right? So it makes no sense, and it kills any sort of music criticism on YouTube that uses the music itself, which sucks. Tashid Khan says, Trump is appealing to Obama voters because of the neoliberalism specialized manufacturing and green energies, which displaced many made in America manufacturing and coal plants that existed in rural areas. I don't know if that's true necessarily. Maybe it's true to some extent, but why don't we just replace those? I'm saying, I guess my hope would be we would replace outdated coal plants with greener energies. Are you just saying that they didn't do that? I'm confused what you're saying exactly. Thoughts on the news for the Halo series, if you saw it. I did not see the Halo series. I heard it was pretty bad. I don't know about my dad's book journey. This next one. Rich says, Sam, I mean lost in the sense of they are not on the world's side no more. They abandon allies, natives, etc. because of him. Okay. I see what you're saying. That is definitely true. M. Ronald says, 10 years ago, YouTube, Twitter, and Insta used to be so free and fun. Yeah, but that was the Wild West days. They weren't going to last forever, you know? No outlaw Wild West days last forever. Alexis Hernandez says, I think Trump will lose and Kamala will be president, but something bad is coming, and they will want Trump because of the problems that will come. I don't like Trump. That's a vague. Who's they? You say they want Trump because of the problems. What problems and who's they? Thank you, Heather Grass, for another donation. You're the best. Sammy Lick, that was a good explanation of music and its relation to fair use on YouTube. I didn't know about that. I'm happy to explain. Sam, do you like kimchi? I freaking love kimchi. I have kimchi in my refrigerator right now. I always keep kimchi on me. You know, like people's like, I always got my gat on me. I'm always strapped up. It's like, dog, I always got my kimchi on me. Have you and your father entertained the idea that Trump might send this to the Supreme Court? Many times. I think we've talked about this at least 3 or 4 times on Lichtman Live. I've never been to an inauguration. I'm not sure if my dad has. Why do you think MAGA is insistent on mispronouncing Kamala's name? To disrespect her. Simple as that. Isn't TikTok a Wild West with music? No, the record companies got their suction cups class to TikTok. Every time somebody uses a song on a TikTok, the record companies get paid. I believe they have a deal with TikTok. H-Fan says, a left-wing content creator I sometimes listen to made the argument that Harris and Trump are only close in the polls because Biden administration is Bush 2.0 on Israel. That seems unlikely to me. That seems unlikely to me as well, H-Fan. I did not watch Rings of Power. Like, I love the original Lord of the Rings so much. I don't feel like I need more. And I don't feel like... I think my dog's snoring. And I don't feel like the Rings of Power are gonna ever exceed the original movies for me. So I just don't feel like giving them the time or energy. Why does YouTube allow bootlegs? What do you mean by bootlegs? Like bootleg music? What do you mean by that exactly? I'm not sure. I might be able to explain it if I knew exactly what you meant by that. I mean, there are... Yeah, I need to know what you mean by that. Anita says, I thought it's strange that Trump continued to meet with leaders of other countries, and as a pundit said, it is unusual for the former president to conduct diplomatic activities unless they've been authorized by the current president, which definitely did not happen here. Well, of course not. I'm not surprised by that. I mean, that makes total sense that Trump kept doing that. Just knowing his personality, right? Master says, I think they're purposely mispronouncing her name as a bait to catch people and air their reactions to Fox News or something. Yeah, it's just disrespect. It's about disrespect, and that's what it's about. Whether they're trying to disrespect people who get mad about it or her herself, it's about disrespect. Christina Cho says, my friends in South Korea will praise you for always having kimchi on hand. Look, I love Koreans, no doubt. I love the Korean nation. Shout out to South Korea. So these bootlegs are unreleased recordings, unofficial, like live recordings. So if they're live recording, it's possible that the YouTube algorithm doesn't catch them. If they're unreleased, they certainly won't catch them. Also, a lot of the times these record companies allow your video to stay up, but they take all profit from it. So I forgot to mention that. So even if they claim it and you dispute it and they keep their claim, it's not necessarily that they block the video or take the video down. They just take all revenue from that video. It would be fun to see you bring up your favorite music and movies and have your dads take two very different generations. That would be cool. I think if I mentioned most of my music, at least, he would just be like, I don't know what that is. So I don't know if that'd be very interesting to watch. Trump made a big mistake attacking Detroit today. In Detroit, that man is dumb. He does it all the time. It doesn't seem to wane his support. Trump's supporters respond to any criticism of Trump by saying Trump derangement syndrome, and it's hella annoying. Right, because they don't have anything to stand on. If you criticize Trump validly, the only thing they can say back to you is some sort of ad hominem attack. I mean, it's clear as day, right? What are the chances your dad debates Nate Silver before the election? I would say low. What do you think Trump smells like? That's such a weird question, Phil. I have no idea. Do you have another job as well, or is it all YouTube? I have another job as well. I have another job as well. Are you also involved in the political commentary outside of YouTube? Not really. Chad says, I think Republicans mispronouncing Kamala's name is strategic. It makes her seem different and her and give permission for others to join the club. The result is clearly disrespectful. Yeah, I agree. Did you hear that a pro-Palestinian group on Columbia University has recently made a statement praising armed resistance? I'm completely egalitarian, but that behavior does little for the movement. I agree with your statement, H-fan. What if it goes to the Supreme Court, then the House of Representatives, which is mostly red? Then we're in for trouble, Marco. Cynthia says Trump smells like McDonald's. I don't really want to, I keep thinking, stopping to think about what he smells like. I don't really want to think about that. It kind of grosses me out. Did I see Howard Stern's interview with Kamala? No. Shit, I just did it. No, I didn't. Are the Ravens doing well? Haven't checked. Yes, they are surging. They just beat the Cincinnati Bengals last week. Guys, let's stop this. Trump smells like, that's gross. I don't want to know what he smells like. I do not want to know. Do you think Biden will intervene if Supreme Court attempts to steal the election? He has immunity to do so. Probably. I think he's going to do something if he sees something incredibly nefarious happening. Hopefully, I don't think we're going to get to that point. I really don't. So that's my take on it. I don't think we're going to get to that point, and if it does get to that point and the acts are so nefarious, I think he's got to step in. You know what I mean? I want to give another shout out to Heather Grass for 2 donations. I appreciate that. Did anybody else give a donation? No, just Heather. Thank you, Heather. Just wanted to give a shout out to you again. You and your dad should sell a shirt that says, "Dog, I always got my kimchi on me." Maybe we should. That's a good idea. My dad likes kimchi too. PB losses. Oh my God, Robert James, you're the best. PB with a $10 donation. PB losses. Hi Sam, just wanted to say you have great genetics. Your dad looks amazing for 77, more like 55 tops. He does look good, no doubt. Master says, I'm not going to lie, I do have a hard time saying her name. Not trying to be rude, it just comes out naturally. I do feel that. I just did it just 2 seconds ago. I accidentally mispronounced her name. But I corrected myself immediately, right? What you'll see with a lot of these Republicans is they never correct themselves. Stern is a huge supporter of women LGBTQ. Stopped supporting Trump once he became a candidate and started spewing hate. Yeah, I like Howard. I've always liked Howard Stern, and I still like him. And I think his politics are pretty good, generally speaking. I mean, I don't know in depth about his politics, but the national security community is terrified of another Trump term. They know he's a danger to the country. I wouldn't want to work in national security if Trump was president. Just saying. Is your dad going to be on The Daily Show? Yes, he is. I believe he already recorded his interview. This is the behind the scenes action you get on the Lichtman Live post show. I don't know what day he will appear on the Daily Show, but the interview has been recorded. Kev Chata says, Republicans correct themselves when they mistakenly say Kamala's name right. Okay. I mean, I just saw Dan Crenshaw today do it on some Piers Morgan show, and he didn't correct himself. Do you think there would be any surprise Harris win states this go around? North Carolina is my dark horse for Kamala. Have you or your dad ever supported Republicans, or are you lifelong Democrats? I'm not going to answer that personally. You're going to ask him. Maybe he'll answer it. In Howard Stern's 9/11 stream, he was literally saying, bomb that whole part of the world. Oh, I didn't know that. That's not good. Look, people say stupid stuff a lot. I don't think we should judge people based off of one-off, two-off occurrences of saying stupid shit. Also, way in the past. What are my thoughts on Cenk and Hassan? I have a whole video on my video tab about Hassan, so you should check that out. Rich, as I say, they voted for Mitt Romney. You saying my dad did or me? Well, I didn't, and I don't think my dad did either. Just saying. Did you ever live in the DC area near your dad? And if so, what do you like better, DC? Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the DC area. They're so different. I think LA is a better fit for me, especially at this point in my life, but I love DC too. Would you go on Piers Morgan? Me? Why would he have me on? I have like 5,000 subscribers. Sure, just for the exposure. But he would never have me on. Who's winning, Texas or Oklahoma? Texas. H-Fan says, isn't Hassan one of those leftists who thinks Republicans and Democrats are basically the same? I'm not sure, honestly. I don't watch enough of his content to know that for sure. Is there anything Trump could do that MAGA wouldn't defend? At this point, I don't think so. It's hard, and maybe unless, in the past, the only thing I think that could have sunk Trump is if the Mueller report came out and said Trump is a Russian spy, he's a pawn, and black and white with plenty of evidence. I think that's the only thing that could have taken him down. Piers Morgan is MAGA down low. Oh yeah, Piers Morgan is definitely a Trump supporter for sure. I mean, if you see any of his videos on Trump or Kamala or Democrats, for sure, he's always leaning and framing everything from a MAGA point of view for sure. Maybe not MAGA, but a Trump point of view. Is Jaden Daniels the real deal, the next RG3? We have no idea. It's too early to tell. At this point, Piers Morgan will invite any liberal on. Tell him to invite me on. I'll go on for sure. You should prepare for do you condemn Hamas if you ever go on Piers Morgan. Yeah. I mean, most of his content that I've seen is just a bunch of people who will never agree with each other shouting at each other. And it gets the clicks, and I think he knows that. So sometimes I watch it because it is sort of like watching a TV show. It is dramatic and loud, but at the end of the day, it's just for clicks. I think he does engage pretty well on the Israel-Palestine issue, but again, then he just brings on two people or a panel of people who will never agree and just yell at each other for the most of the time. Do I like Bill Maher? Overall, yes. Piers Morgan really does too much both-siderism. He says he's centrist, but he has a history of supporting conservatism in the UK. Yeah, I think he's a centrist in the fact that he does jump back and forth based on the issues from the left or the right. So if that makes you a centrist, then he is. But yes, I think he has pretty well-established ideology. But I do give him credit that he doesn't cement himself into one ideology on all issues. He does ebb and flow a little bit, which I respect. What do you say to leftists who argue that Democrats and Republicans are exactly the same on the basis of both of them being beholden to the same kinds of donors and such? I think I said this on my dad's live stream. Just look at Roe versus Wade. There's the difference right there. Yes, there are corrupt politicians in both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Yes, there are Republicans and Democrats who are cult-like behind their leader. Yes. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the results of the policy and the terms in office and what they did do or what they didn't do. And I think you can point to Democrats more often doing things that are better for Americans than Republicans. I do see Sam on Bill Maher. I'd definitely go on Bill Maher. I think he's here in LA. I mean, here's the thing, go on Bill Maher, go on, like, again, back to this whole idea of like, I didn't really choose to be public talking about politics. And I don't know if I want to do that or be that. If I did, I could just go live every day and talk about it. You know what I mean? But I don't know if I want to do that. And if I did go live every day and talk about it, maybe that would make my follower count go up. It probably would, but I don't know if I'm willing to do that. I don't know if I want to do that just for followers, I don't know if that makes sense. Do you think some people who say they are neither left or right are right-wing but don't want to say it? No, I think there's definitely a lot of really, really far leftist people who would never be right-wing who say that. This is from Jack Powell. People seem to be confusing presidential immunity with absolute power. Biden would have no ability to stop the court from making a ruling. He just can't be prosecuted for anything or anything else. That's a good point. Maybe I was kind of mixing all of that together. That is a good point. Yeah, I mean, the court can do what it's going to do. Is your dad making an appearance on Bill Maher soon? I don't believe he's been invited on Bill Maher, not that I've heard of. Who's my favorite president? Abraham Lincoln. Do you think Apprentice's Mark Burnett has video of Trump saying racist things? Maybe, but I don't think it matters. I mean, he's said racist things in the public. Maybe not as explicit as whatever. I mean, he said grab him by the P word. He's called. I don't know. I don't think. I mean, maybe he does. I don't think it makes any difference. Ross Goldberg says, I think it's an exaggeration that Dems and Republicans both have the same donors. They have some similar big donors, but Dems have a great history of being supported by unions, unlike Republicans. Very good point. Hello, Roberto. When MAGA election officials refuse to do their duties, Biden should immediately use his power to imprison them. It may be our last chance. I don't know about that. That seems a little extreme. I don't think he should go around imprisoning election workers, even if they are breaking the law. It's too political. You'll always be a GeoGuessr master. Thank you, master. I appreciate it. Coming from one master, I appreciate that. Why is Lincoln my favorite president? Because I admire his intellect, his humility, his approach to politics. Things like that. Am I a better GeoGuessr than Rainbolt? I don't think so. David Pacman is now saying Kamala will lose. Did he really? What? Why is he saying that? And based off of what? Do you have a link? Can somebody send me a link to that? Why are people so bipolar when it comes to politics? Politics are boring. Most people are like, they're not. I mean, I've talked about this 1,000 times. It's not a horse race. All right. People are saying, Rich says, I did not hear David Pacman say that. Philip says, David Pacman did not say that. All right. Do I admire Lincoln's hat? For sure. The Young Turks put out some stupid video. Kamala, quote, Kamala is behind in the polls, not knowing it's just for clickbait. Not knowing it's just for clickbait? I don't get that. I mean, obviously it's just for clickbait. Look, YouTube is a tough game. And sometimes you have to put... I don't entirely blame people for clickbait in this day and age. But I do believe that once you click it, the content inside that clickbait should be of high moral grounding, if that makes sense. Or at least accurate to the facts, or provide some sort of service to the people. You know what I'm saying? Oh, in other words, people don't know it's clickbait. Right. That's an issue. Is if you're purposely deceiving people with your clickbait. That's definitely an issue. Pac-Man was just saying that the polling looked concerning for Kamala versus Biden and Clinton numbers in 16 and 20. All right, that's better than saying she's going to lose for sure. But he's still too beholden to the polls. But I mean, unless you're basically Alan Lichtman or Alan Lichtman's son, I totally understand why you're beholden to the polls, because they're really all you got, you know? So, I don't blame him for it. Susie K in the house. Too much pole dancing, says Todd. Yeah, I totally agree. Way too much pole dancing. That's a good way to put it. I like that phrase, pole dancing. I just jumped up to 140. I just had 124 up, and then I went up to 140, and then just back to 125. I wonder what happened there. Oops. Was there ever any chance of changing the electoral college into the popular vote? No, but I think what you're going to see a lot of states doing is doing what places like Nebraska and Maine have done. Robert James says, your dad blew away everything I've learned in my 20 plus years invested in politics, and I thank him for that. Yeah, I think that's his sort of service to the political landscape, is to try to brush away all the hysteria, all the horse race, all the nonsense that fills our political landscape, you know? When's the next GeoGuessr stream? Those are lit. I'm trying to think. Maybe Saturday or Sunday. What is geocaching? Oh, there'll definitely be more GeoGuessr streams. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. I can't do Friday, but maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday. So if you're watching, you've never caught one of my GeoGuessr streams, join us. Have you ever read Robert Reich's books? I don't think I've read any of his books. I have seen his documentary. I should check out some of it. If you have any Robert Reich book recommendations, message me on Instagram at SammyLicht. You need a soundboard of your dad saying phrases like, I don't answer hypotheticals. Dude, that would be sick. Oh, man, that would be awesome. PB Law says, don't have a poli-sci YouTube channel unless that's true. That's your true love. I think you said before, you love music, follow your heart and dreams. That's a good point. I think that's a good point. I mean, politics is definitely part of my life, but it's not my whole life. And it's definitely not what I truly love, for sure. I love comedy. I love film. I love music, etc., etc. How much sleep do I get a night? I'm trying to switch up my sleeping patterns right now. I'm trying to wake up earlier, so it's hard to answer that right now. Come back to me in a few weeks. I'll try to answer it again. Robert Reich was Bill Clinton's former... No, I'm familiar with Robert Reich. I just don't know if I've read any of his books. Do you know any poem/poetry? Who's my favorite poet? My favorite poet is Emily Dickinson, I believe. Yeah, I'm going to go with it. Actually, I think it was during the pandemic when I was just bored off my ass. I took... University of Pennsylvania has a free class on poetry, and I took it, and I really liked it. So check that out if you like poetry. Abe is here. Shout out to Abe. I also like, who else do I like poetry wise? I'm blanking on his name. Alan Greenspan. Alan Greenberg. What's his name? I can't remember. Poet. Alan. Whoa. Jesus. Poet. What am I doing? Ginsberg. I like this guy too. I like Allen Ginsberg. Drop the StreamYard? What does that mean? What does drop the StreamYard mean? This guy. Allen Ginsberg. Philip H. says, my favorite poet is Eminem. Eminem's definitely a good poet. I like some Robert Frost. I don't know if I've gotten super into Robert Frost. Where did I attend school and what was my major? I attended American University and my major was in communications. Tupac is a great poet. I agree with that full-heartedly. Why do so many young people in their early 20s support Donald, especially young men like him? Why? I think because a lot of these guys have some sort of, maybe, I'm not sure what the right word is, issue with masculinity. They're too hyper focused on masculinity for some reason. I'm not sure why. and Trump provides an outlet for that, I guess. Wolfrado Emerson, I've never gotten super into. Art Rake has a YouTube channel. Yeah, I've definitely seen. Sorry, I'm just reading Rich's message. I've definitely seen Robert Reich's YouTube channel stuff before. All right. I think with that, I've been going for an hour on my dad's stream, an hour on my stream. I think with that, I will sign off. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching Lichtman Live. Thank you all for watching Lichtman Live post show. I appreciate every single one of you. Good night.